It's been a story that has burned within me, yearning to be told, unfolding like a secret kept under lock and key. A stepmother never could have foretold the dramatic turn my life took as I became entwined in a narrative of suppressed passion and unspoken desires. This is my confession, a journey into the heart of the forbidden. I had always envisioned myself as the guardian of a happy family, a sanctuary of love and understanding. In the early years of my marriage to James I found solace in the familiar rhythm of domestic life. Our relationship, a gentle dance of companionship, was bathed in the warm glow of contentment. But beneath the serene surface, the currents of destiny were slowly but surely pulling us towards an uncharted territory. My stepson Paul was a young boy with a curious spirit when I first entered his life. His laughter brightened our home, and his innocent questions filled the air with wonder. As the years progressed, Paul transformed from a youth to a young man, and my role as a mother figure evolved. I was there to guide, to nurture, and to watch over him, a sacred duty I never took lightly. On that fateful night, I was entirely unaware that the threads of our lives were about to entwine in a way I couldn't have imagined. Bathed in the soft glow of moonlight, my bedroom became the setting for an extraordinary encounter. There I found Paul, my adolescent stepson, standing in a pool of silvery light, his eyes locked upon my intimate lingerie as if it were the most captivating treasure. Hello guys, I've been punished by YouTube and cannot upload videos anymore to this channel. If you love my videos and want to support me, please subscribe to my new channel. It means world to me. The sight took my breath away, and my heart, normally a steady compass, began to flutter with the mange of emotions. In his hands he held a delicate piece of me, a black silk thong, a gift from James, now a symbol of our shared unspoken curiosity. I watched as his fingers grazed the fabric, a quiet reverence in his touch, and I knew in that instant that something profound was stirring within him and within me. I had never questioned the bounds of our relationship. I was his stepmother, a figure meant to offer guidance and support, not to be the subject of such captivating glances. Yet as I stood at the precipice of this unforeseen moment, every fiber of my being was alive with sensations both startling and enticing. The air in the room crackled with unvoiced sentiments, revealing the intricate dance of our intertwined lives. I could see in Paul's eyes now, gleaming with the beginnings of adult desire, a reflection of the man he was becoming. Gone was the little boy who once played at my feet. Before me stood a youth on the threshold of self-discovery, his fascination with me a blend of innocent curiosity and something more mature. I reminisced about our shared past, the bedtime stories, the scraped knees I'd kissed better, and the long talks where I shared the wisdom of the world. Now as I stood in the moonlit room, I was confronted with the stark realization that Paul was no longer just a child to protect and guide. He had grown into a young man with a powerful allure, drawing me into the intricate dance of suppressed passion that now pulsated between us. The moment stretched, charged with a tension that was both exhilarating and terrifying. I was torn between my maternal instincts to protect and my burgeoning yearning to explore a path that society would deem unacceptable. The lingerie he held, a mere scrap of silk, became the emblem of our unspoken feelings, a secret too powerful to ignore yet too daring to confess. This narrative is a testament to the raw, unfiltered power of emotion, a journey that challenges societal boundaries. What transpired between my stepson and me was more than a simple tale of desire. It was a saga of human connection set against the canvas of taboo passions. I invite you to walk with me through this personal account, prepared to confront the complexities of love and lust as I share the unfolding of a bond that defied conventional ties. The morning after holds a distinct serenity, a calm before the storm that looms over our revealed secrets. As I awake, the night's events come rushing back to me, no longer a hazy dream but a vivid reality. It is on this day that my world will truly transform as I navigate the delicate path towards understanding and embracing the unconventional love that it has sprouted within our family. In the kitchen I find him, Paul, my stepson, bathed in the soft morning light, his back to me. The sight of his still damp hair reveals his recent shower, a silent indication of his preparation for a profound conversation. As our eyes meet in the reflection of the window, we both know the time has come to bare our Souls Paul the First begin steadying myself. We need to discuss what happened last night. The weight of my words hangs heavily in the air, demanding honesty and courage. I see in his eyes the fear and uncertainty that mirror my own feelings, but I press on, determined to tackle the truth head-on. He remains silent, letting out a breath he seems to have been holding since the previous night. His face open and innocent betrays the turmoil within his heart. I motioned for him to join me at the table, a safe haven for the fraught discussion with we are about to have. You don't have to be scared, Paul the First say, reaching across the table to take his hand, my voice gentle yet firm. I know you've developed feelings for me, and I want you to understand that I'm here to talk, to listen without judgment. At my words, he squeezes my hand, his grip conveying the relief of no longer shouldering the burden of his secret alone. I couldn't sleep last night, he confesses, his voice breaking slightly. I kept thinking about you, about us, and I'm scared because I don't know how to navigate these feelings. It's okay to feel scared, Paul the First reassure him, my heart going out to this young man who is discovering the complexities of love in the most unconventional way. Embracing our emotions can be challenging, but it's an essential part of growing up. Discovering oneself in one's desires is a journey we all must take. He looks into my eyes, seeking a safe net where he can fall without fear of rejection or judgment. I've never felt like this before. It's all so new to me, he admits, his gaze conveying a mix of wonder and apprehension. I mean, you've always been like a mom, but now my feelings are different. I understand how confusing this must be for you, I tell him, empathy etching my words. Sometimes life presents us with unexpected situations that challenge our understanding of the world and ourselves, but it's only by facing these challenges head-on that we can truly grow. But is it okay to feel this way for you, my dad's wife? I've read about these things and it's all so taboo. His question, laced with anxiety, reflects the internal struggle between his heart and societal conventions. I pause, choosing my words carefully to ask him make sense of the chaos of his emotions. It's not about what the world express respects or even what makes sense. It's about listening to your heart, Paul. Sometimes the most right thing is not always obvious or easy for us. This feels right, and that's what matters. At my acknowledgement of the truth they'd both felt but feared to voice, Paul's eyes well up, tears reflecting the relief that comes from sharing secrets long kept hidden in the dark. We sit in silence for a moment, a shared understanding passing between us, an unspoken bond forged through revelation and acceptance. As the conversation unfolds, we tread the delicate tight RPP between our familial roles and the burgeoning romance, each step tentatively navigating the new path we've chosen to walk hand in hand. In this moment I am more than just a stepmother, I am a confidant and a lover, a guide to the world of intimate desires that he has only begun to explore. The aroma of cooling coffee and the quiet of the morning bear witness to our candid exchange, a conversation that will alter the course of our lives, leading us down a road where passion and familial love intertwine in a complex spellbinding embrace. In the days following our heart to heart, my world pivots on a new axis, its gravitational pull shifting towards the forbidden territory of unspoken yearnings. Every waking moment becomes an opportunity to observe Paul, my stepson, with eyes now awakened to the man he has become. The subtle changes in his demeanor, the way he carries himself, and the very air he breathes, all these nuances are magnified under my captivated scrutiny. His transformation from the gangly teenager into a poised, handsome young man is undeniable. The soft dusting of stubble along his jawline, the broadening of his shoulders, and the grace with which he moves now, these details paint a vivid portrait of masculinity that I as a woman cannot help but notice. I find myself admiring these features, my maternal instincts now woven with threads of something more sensual and profound. As I watch Paul the First, I'm drawn to express myself differently, my wardrobe becoming a reflection of my inner transformation. Day by day I shed the layers of conventional attire, embracing styles that showcase my femininity with newfound confidence. The hemlines rise, the necklines plunge, and the fabrics cling to my curves in ways that leave little to the imagination. Each morning is a conscious decision to embrace my womanhood without reservation. As I adorn myself I think of his touch, how his fingertips grazed the silk of my lingerie with a shyness that spoke volumes of uncharted Territories that moment frozen in time has become a catalyst liberating me from the subtle constraints of maternal modesty. Now my hands move with purpose, caressing my neck, lingering on my wrists, and even at times briefly brushing against my own skin in a tantalized simulation of his touch during our everyday activities. My thoughts drift to him more often than I care to admit. I catch myself envisioning the way his eyes light up when he looks at me, his gaze lingering longer than what societal norms might dictate. The memory of our shared intimacy fuels my fantasies, and I find myself longing for his innocent touch which once held such power over my senses. One balmy afternoon, as I arrange flowers in a vase, the smooth petals and their fragrant scent stir up a kaleidoscope of emotions. The tender act of placing each flower echoes the gentle caress. I yearn for Paul's fingers dancing across my skin in that moment. I'm transported to a realm where our familial bond is but a fragile barrier rippling under the currents of our mutual attraction. My every move is a dance of tease and allure, each gesture a silent proclamation of my desires. I tilt my head slightly when he speaks, my smile lingers in his direction, and I casually adjust my hair, a subtle act of seduction played out under the watchful eye of the sun. My interactions with him are charged with electricity, every glance and smile communicating what our words dare not utter in public. Our interactions become a delicate ballet, each step and pirouette a study and controlled desire. I observe him admiring my bared shoulders at family gatherings, his gaze traveling the length of my figure, revealing more than good manners would dictate. It is a game we both understand, a silent dance of temptation, where each inch of exposed skin speaks volumes more than any direct plea could ever convey. The subtleties transform into bolder statements as I grow more confident in my newfound self. I lean in closer when sharing a joke, my breath barely sigh on his cheek, my fingers brush against his deliberately, leaving a lingering warmth, and my laughter bubbles with an undercurrent of invitation. Each move a deliberate step towards the unknown. My clothing choices are no longer about mere fashion, they are tools in the intricate art of seduction. I consider the fabrics that will accentuate my curves, the colors that will make my eyes sparkle, and the pieces that will draw his attention, making my desires known even in silence. Each time I undress at night, it is a ritualistic shedding of convention, a celebration of my liberation and the burning embers of our shared passion. The air thickened with anticipation as the sun slipped below the horizon, casting a warm orangish glow across the sky, signaling the commencement of my clandestine plan. The orchestrator of this seductive charade, was intent on pushing the boundaries of our unspoken desire, beckoning the forbidden to step into the light. My pulse quickened as I prepared for the evening's performance, a private show designed to ignite the flames of Paul's desire and bring our shared passion to the fore in the soft glow of the lounge room, illuminated by a single lamp with a warm sultry hue. I carefully curated an ambiance of intimacy. The air was heavy with the scent of vanilla incense, a deliberate choice to arouse the senses and invite relaxation, akin to the tranquil state between wakefulness and dreams where secrets are whispered and desires flourish. I languidly arranged myself on the couch, my body nuded, sensuous curves bathed in the gentle light. My breath, deep and measured, matched the rhythmic tempo of ambient music. I had selected a pulsating yet muted melody that filled the room with an unspoken suggestion. As I lay there, my fingers danced along my naked form, a serpentine choreography designed to entice and allure, an overture to the forbidden performance that was about to unfold. Paul's footsteps came quietly down the hall, his presence drawing nearer, the soft padding of leather slippers on the wooden floorboards the only audible clue of his approach. As he rounded the door frame, the startled pause in his step betrayed his surprise at the scene before him, his eyes wide as saucers drank in the spectacle of my alluring body, taut and exposed, framed by the dark recesses of the room. A seductive smile curved upon my lips, an invitation to a realm where the ordinary rules of stepmother and stepson no longer applied. I beckoned him with a soft whisper laden with desire, "Watch Paul come closer." My voice, low and sensuous, was a caress in and of itself, urging him to shed his inhibitions and partake in this explicit dance of lust and need. I had plotted this moment with meticulous care, knowing that Paul's burgeoning masculinity craved more than just the subtleties and gentle teases I had offered thus far. Our relationship had reached a juncture where the unspoken tension between us could only be relieved through an act of bold provocation, a deliberate seduction born of mutual attraction. As Paul approached, his eyes trailed along the length of my body, taking in the vision of naked desire. With deliberate slowness I ran my fingers through my hair, letting the tendrils cascade against my breasts, my breath coming shallow and fast, mirroring the increasing tempo of the background music, my movements both captivating and calculated. Orchestrated the ultimate crescendo of this private performance, he stood motionless before me, his eyes now gleaming with desire, his breath catching audibly in his throat. My fingers delicately traced the lines of my body, knowing that each caress and each stroke was an invitation for his eyes to follow. Then, ever so slowly, I allowed my hand to slip between my legs, a subtle suggest of the ultimate prize he so fervently yearned for. The seconds seemed to stretch endlessly as I held his gaze, our eyes locked in a silent, wordless communication, confirming what our lips dared not speak. My hand moved with calculated deliberation, my fingers tapping out a rhythm of enticement, urging him to finally shatter the barrier of inhibition that had kept us apart. As the background music reached its climax, so too did my final act. A dramatic flourish that left nothing to the imagination. In that moment I exposed the depths of my desire, a confirmation of the passion I had been so daring to ignite. And then, without a word, I rose, my nakedness a silent proclamation, and with a final sultry glance retreated to my bedroom, leaving Paul to process the spectacle that had just unfolded. This was more than a mere physical display, it was a provocative statement of intent, a deliberate challenge to the established boundaries of our relationship. The impact of my actions, though not immediately apparent, would soon become the catalyst for a dramatic evolution of our passion, rippling through our lives and drawing us further into the intricate web of forbidden desire. The air hung heavy with expectation. The morning after my provocative display, a charged atmosphere that whispered of unfulfilled desires and untapped possibilities. Throughout the day, Paul and I danced around each other, our gazes locking for fleeting moments, each glance a silent acknowledgement of the passion that simmered between us. The unspoken tension in the house was almost palpable, intensified by the mixed emotions that flickered across Paul's face each time he looked at me as the sun dipped below the horizon, cloaking the day in a veil of twilight. I found Paul in the dimly lit living room, reclining on the couch, his eyes closed and his hands seemingly lost in the rhythm of his own pleasure. I sensed this was not merely a teenage indulgence, but a subtle and sensual invitation, a cry from his very soul to bridge the lingering gap between us. Intrigued by his silent call, I approached him, my steps measured and deliberate. As I drew near, I could see his chest rising and falling with each heavy breath, his body betraying the raw intensity of his emotions. I seated myself beside him, careful not to startle, allowing my thigh to brush against his as I crossed my legs. The touch, though subtle, was a spark in the kindling of our shared passion. In the soft light, Paul's face was a portrait of pent-up longing, his eyes, once they opened, revealing the complexity of his desires. He looked at me, his gaze filled with a question I had an answer for, but one neither of us dared ask aloud. I smiled enigmatically, a silent encouragement for him to continue what he had begun, a private display for my eyes only. Leaning back against the cushions, I let my fingers gently stroke my neck, a simple, almost involuntary action that drew Paul's attention to my subtly revealed throat. The gentle motion of my hand was deliberate, a sensual dance that mirrored the rhythm of his caress. With my other hand I reached for his, our fingers entwining, a silent affirmation of the path we were both choosing to walk. In that moment we were two beings drawn together by an irresistible force, a magnetism that defied logic and societal norms. My free hand drifted to his thigh, a possessive gesture, a silent claim on the very territory my body ACHD to explore. His skin, warm beneath my touch, drew me further into the spell of the moment, banishing any lingering doubts. His movements grew more fervent, fueled by my presence, his desire amplified by the heat of my breath on his neck. I watched, enthralled by the raw display of his passion, by the juxtaposition of his masculinity and the vulnerability in his eyes as he surrendered to the growing tide of his need. Gradually my hand began its own Rhythm on his leg, a sensual exploration that mirrored his movements, a syncopated dance that brought our bodies and desires even closer. With each stroke my fingertips danced along his again, drawing a wave of reactions from him, a silent testament to the fire I sought to ignite. When he was at the precipice, teetering on the brink of release, I leaned in, my breath warming his ear, my lips brushing the corners of my mouth, forming a sultry smile. My low, husky voice, thick with emotion, whispered, "Let go, Paul," a mere breath of sound that shattered the remaining boundaries between us. The finale that followed was as much for me as it was for him. I felt every quiver and surge. It was a powerful demonstration of the depth of his desire. A sentiment so profound it reverberated through our intermingled souls. In the aftermath, as he lay still, his eyes closed and his hands seemingly lost in the rhythm of his own pleasure, I sensed this was not merely a teenage indulgence but a subtle and sensual invitation, a cry from his very soul to bridge the lingering gap between us. Intrigued by his silent call, I approached him, my steps measured and deliberate. As I drew near, I could see his chest rising and falling with each heavy breath, his body betraying the raw intensity of his emotions. I seated myself beside him, careful not to startle, allowing my thigh to brush against his as I crossed my legs. The touch, though subtle, was a spark in the kindling of our shared passion. In the soft light, Paul's face was a portrait of pent-up longing, his eyes, once they opened, revealing the complexity of his desires. He looked at me, his gaze filled with a question I had an answer for, but one neither of us dared ask aloud. I smiled enigmatically, a silent encouragement for him to continue what he had begun, a private display for my eyes only. Leaning back against the cushions, I let my fingers gently stroke my neck, a simple, almost involuntary action that drew Paul's attention to my subtly revealed throat. The gentle motion of my hand was deliberate, a sensual dance that mirrored the rhythm of his caress. With my other hand I reached for his, our fingers entwining, a silent affirmation of the path we were both choosing to walk. In that moment we were two beings drawn together by an irresistible force, a magnetism that defied logic and societal norms. My free hand drifted to his thigh, a possessive gesture, a silent claim on the very territory my body ACHD to explore. His skin, warm beneath my touch, drew me further into the spell of the moment, banishing any lingering doubts. His movements grew more fervent, fueled by my presence, his desire amplified by the heat of my breath on his neck. I watched, enthralled by the raw display of his passion, by the juxtaposition of his masculinity and the vulnerability in his eyes as he surrendered to the growing tide of his need. Gradually my hand began its own rhythm on his leg, a sensual exploration that mirrored his movements, a syncopated dance that brought our bodies and desires even closer. With each stroke my fingertips danced along his again, drawing a wave of reactions from him, a silent testament to the fire I sought to ignite. When he was at the precipice, teetering on the brink of release, I leaned in, my breath warming his ear, my lips brushing the corners of my mouth, forming a sultry smile. My low, husky voice, thick with emotion, whispered, "Let go, Paul," a mere breath of sound that shattered the remaining boundaries between us. The finale that followed was as much for me as it was for him. I felt every quiver and surge. It was a powerful demonstration of the depth of his desire. A sentiment so profound it reverberated through our intermingled souls. In the aftermath, his body spent, I gently disentangled myself from his embrace, my withdrawal a simultaneous act of tender care and agonizing torture. I stood, leaving him to the intimate cocoon of his thoughts, my own mind spinning with the realization of what we had just shared, retreating to the solitude of my room. I closed the door quietly behind me, allowing the events of the evening to swirl in my mind like a storm, a tempest of emotions, desires, and the unanswerable question of what would happen next in this dance of forbidden love. The languid warmth of the sun on my bare skin served as a fitting accompaniment to the unspoken desires simmering between Paul and me. I allowed the ray to coax me into discarding layers of clothing, baring my body not just to the sun's embrace but also to the heat in Paul's eyes, an intensified hunger that could no longer be ignored. This day marked the culmination of a journey that began under the pale moonlight, when our secret dance of desire was first unveiled. Ever since that seminal moment, I'd observed Paul's gaze upon me slowly evolving from curious shyness to bold assertion each day. His eyes spoke of a growing maturity and understanding of the sensual world I'd helped unlock within him, and a mounting yearning that matched my own intensifying desire. Our whispered conversations and subtle touches had kindled a fire that promised to burn brighter and hotter with each passing moment. As I stretched out on the patio lounge, the sunlight bathed my naked form, highlighting every curve and hollow, enticing Paul's eyes to follow its divine path. Each droplet of sweat that glistened on my skin was a testament to the simmering heat, not only from the summer swelter but also from the unquenchable flame that burned between us. Our restrained caresses and clandestine glances had become a smoldering ember threatening to ignite into an inferno of passion. From my supine position I observed the transformation of my stepson into a young man consumed by an inextinguishable thirst. I witnessed how he struggled to manage the tempestuous cloud of desire and uncertainty in his eyes. In these moments I recognized an echo of my own tempestuous heart, reflecting the profound yearning that our societal roles demanded we smother. Rising like a desert mirage, I approached Paul with deliberate steps, each stride a pulse of determination towards our mutual destiny. The burgeoning heat of the midday sun was a mere whisper compared to the inferno burning in our loins, a conflagration that only our embrace could quench. As I stood before him, every pulse yearning for his touch, his eyes did not waver from mine, locked in a silent understanding of the yearning we shared. My voice, thick with the weight of our unspoken truth, broke the quietude. We can no longer feign ignorance, Paul. It was a statement that resonated in the atmosphere between heartbeats, acknowledging the potency of our desires and the futility of further resistance. Paul's hands reached for mine, his touch a quiet reassurance that we were taking the right step towards what our bodies had been urgently whispering. Since our midnight encounter, I could feel his fingers twine with mine, a physical manifestation of the unity our hearts had already achieved, transgressing the bounds of our familial roles. Drawn by an irresistible force, I surrendered to the gravity of our shared need and pulled him closer until our bodies stood but a breath apart. Each inhale a shared breath, a shared desire. The air CFT cackled with electricity, a tangible manifestation of our escalating need, and words became unnecessary, our eyes speaking volumes of mutual longing. My lips sought his, initiating a kiss fraught with the hesitation of our forbidden desire, yet fervent in its need to break free from the chains of societal norms. His once uninitiated lips eagerly answered mine, surrendering to the demanding urgings of my mouth, and his arms encircled me, pulling me closer into the cradle of his body, a haven I ACHD to explore. The kiss, once tender, intensified with each passing moment, unleashing the pent-up hunger we'd suppressed for too long. Our mouths merged, tasting the sweetness of this forbidden fruit, our tongues entwined in a sensual rhythm, communicating a yearning that words could not express. As our lips danced, my hands traced the contours of his back, a bold exploration that elicited shivers from him, a response that further fueled my desire to venture deeper into the uncharted territory of his body. Paul, emboldened by my advance, returned my caresses, his fingers daring to explore territories once forbidden to him. A mother figure transformed into a woman of desires. The kiss, ignited by months of suppressed longing, became a catalyst, setting alight an unquenchable fire that demanded satisfaction. The moment our lips met, a powerful surge of energy through our bodies, breaking down the last remnants of hesitance and uncertainty. We gave in to the tempestuous desires that had long simmered beneath the surface, our lips molding together as if they had done so 1,000 times before, our tongues entwined in a feverish dance, a silent language of lust that neither of us needed to learn. As our mouths explored each other, my hands mapped his body, marveling at the man Paul had become. Every lean muscle, every scar, and every softness a testament to his journey from boyhood to manhood. His touch, once hesitant, grew bolder, claiming my body as if it were his own to explore in. Cherish. The kiss deepened, becoming a primal need that compelled us to move as one entity, our bodies guided by an inherent knowledge of what was required to satisfy the craving that burned within. His hands roamed freely over my skin, evoking a symphony of sensual sensations that only intensified with each passing moment. I felt the heat of His palms against my hips, my waist drawing me closer, tighter into his embrace until every curve of my body was pressed against every angle of his as. The kiss lingered, my fingers dove beneath the waistband of his shorts, seeking the pulsating proof. The touch was a spark that ignited a conflagration of sensations, setting us further ablaze. He let out a low guttural sound, half pleasure and half pain, his body arching towards me, unspoken words of need hanging in the air between us. Our breaths came in ragged gasps as we danced in the bounds of passion, clothing becoming an unbearable barrier to the intimacy we craved. Fingers became skilled instruments of seduction, deftly unfastening, unbuttoning and unzipping, revealing flesh and fueling the fire. With each newly exposed inch of skin I guided him towards the bed, our steps unsteady in the dance of desire, and we tumbled together in a heap of urgent limbs and searching mouths. Our kisses left trails of fire across our skin, necks, shoulders and torsos, all bearing the marks of our escalating passion. Beneath my hands roamed freely over the expanse of his bare back, bringing him closer, feeling the sinewy strength of his muscles respond to my touch. I could feel his desire growing, a reflection of my own as it surged through his body demanding release. Please, I whispered, my voice hoarse with need, I want, but the words were unnecessary. Paul, driven by the same primal force that thrummed between us, pushed forward, his eyes ablaze with the same unspoken request, a plea for fulfillment and acceptance. The air in the room seemed to shimmer with our collective desire, a tangible force that urged us onwards towards the ultimate act of intimacy. I urged him on with words of encouragement and moans of pleasure, guiding him with my body, my hands and my voice until he gave in to the demands of our shared passion. In that exquisite moment our relationship transformed into something more profound, more carnal and infinitely more honest. Our mutual surrender transcended the boundaries of our familial roles, forging a new connection, a bond of flesh and spirit that defied conventional ties. The rhythm was no longer a dance of restraint, but a powerful harmony of bodies, minds and souls united in a shared quest for pleasure and a fusion of identities. The sound of our moans filled the room, a symphony of pleasure and pain. As two beings became one in the ultimate act of intimacy, our movements reached a fever pitch, a culmination of the dance that had begun when our eyes first locked and our lips first touched. In that final we celebrated not just the pleasure of the flesh but the profound connection of soul that had braved the boundaries of societal norms to find each other. Breathless, I felt Paul's body against mine, our hearts beating in perfect unison, our foreheads touching softly. In the aftermath of the storm, no words needed to be spoken in this sacred space, for in that intricate entanglement we had found a truth neither of us could deny nor ignore. The aftermath of our passionate embrace left us entangled in a beautiful mess of limbs, sweat and heartbeat, now fused as one in the wake of our shared ecstasy. As we lay catching our breath, our bodies still intertwined, the world seemed to stand still, caught in the web of our shared desire, but the quiet also brought with it a sense of peace, a profound understanding that our connection was not merely a physical one but a profound alignment of souls, two intertwined hearts braiding a delicate new dance of love. As our breathing slowly returned to normal, our fingers gently traced the contours of each other's faces and we smiled, our eyes holding no judgment or regret, only the silent acceptance of the depth and honesty of our love. It was then that Paul spoke, his voice laced with the gravitas of unspoken truths. I want to feel you again, but differently this time. His words hung heavy in the air, a request that held promise and a challenge. As you wish, I murmured, my body already responding to his unspoken desires, my senses keenly aware of every nuance of his being. With a smile that held 1,000 promises, I gently rolled on top, my fingers trailing down his chest in a deliberate, tantalizing dance, causing his muscles to twitch beneath my touch. His eyes, dark and stormy with desire, followed my every move. The power dynamic had subtly shifted, and it was now my need that drove us both. My body becoming his canvas, every inch at my command, every breath his testament to the growing anticipation. My fingers with deft precision sought his most sensitive, caressing, stroking and gently squeezing, drawing out pleasure that echoed through the room, his body so intimately Acquainted with mine responded with every gentle touch, every probing exploration of mine. With each stroke I reveled in the power I had held, the power to entice and tease, and the ultimate power to drive him to the edge of ecstasy and pull him back again. The room seemed to pulse with the rhythm of our desires, the beat of our hearts in perfect harmony with the tempo of our passion. I moved with him, adding more pressure where needed, less when he needed, a delicate balance that only my body could intuit it from his each gasp. Each sigh and each wordless sound guided my hand, molding our symphony of pleasure. Paul's body twisted and arched in response to my touch. His eyes closed, his mouth open in a silent scream as he teetered on the precipice, begging yet simultaneously revving in the exquisite torture I held him at this juncture, where bliss and torment converge, extending the moment, testing the boundaries of his endurance and our shared devotion. Lisa, he called out, his voice an urgent plea. Please. The urgency in his tone was palpable, a haunting echo of my own need, but I was not done weaving this tapestry of lust and desire. I wanted his desire to echo mine, to reach the heights of rapture I'd experienced. Sensing he was on the edge of breaking, I released him from the sweet torment, allowing him his body. Shuddering, his cries filled the air, a raw primitive sound that spoke of the depth of his passion, a melody that harmonized with the rhythm of my touch. As he descended, his body supple yet spent, I planted a soft kiss on his lips, our breath mingling in that tender moment. Not yet, I whispered, my mouth drawing his bottom lip between my teeth. Gently, we're not done. Despite his satiation, Paul's eyes shone with a renewed fervor, and he pulled me towards him, our chests pressed tightly together, our hearts pounding in unison. Let us dance again, he said, his fingers tracing my jawline. Your pleasure is my desire. This time it was his hand coaxing pleasure from me, his fingers moving with the same intuitive rhythm he had just experienced. I arched into his touch, a victim to the sensations he now controlled, surrendering to the current of desire that flowed between us. Our bodies moved in sync, each understanding the other's needs instinctively. The air, heavy with the scent of our feverish passion, was a charged witness to our mutual surrender to the boundaries we had crossed and the personal frontiers we continued to push in the moments that followed. As our breaths became ragged once more and our bodies arched and twisted in the throes of desire, I felt a profound sense of liberation and love. I had not just crossed physical boundaries with my stepson, I had stepped into a new realm of self-discovery, passion and boundless devotion. In the tranquil eye of the passionate storm we lie entangled, our bodies said yet still electrically alive, buzzing in the after-effects of our transgressive love, making the world around us so vividly present. Moments before now receded into the distance, allowing a profound peace to descend upon our intertwined bodies and minds. But within this peace, like ripples in a pond, questions stirred, both unasked and unanswered, each one a stone dropped into the calmness of our shared understanding. Our fingertips entwined in an assertion of connection were the only external manifestation of the deep bond we had forged in the crucible of desire. Through every touch, caress and kiss we had transformed the bond of stepmother and stepson into something unrecognizable and yet profoundly intimate, a metamorphosis that had challenged societal norms and questioned our own moral compasses. With her head nestled in the hollow of my shoulder, Lisa's voice, soft and thoughtful, broke the mesmerizing silence. We've crossed every boundary, Paul, this changes everything, you know. Her words hung heavy with gravity and awe, echoing a truth we both understood but we still coming to terms with. I responded with a squeeze of her hand, a silent reassurance that I was right there with her in this strange new world we had stumbled into. Yeah, it does, I acknowledged, my heart understanding the weight of her words even as my body yearned for more. But it's okay, I added, feeling the need to reinforce our mutual consent in the face of the changes we both sensed were coming. Her eyes met mine, her gaze filled with the same hesitation and exhilaration that I felt. It has to be. It's more than just the physical connection, isn't it? She ventured. It is, I asserted, my voice grave with the profundity of our shared experience. It's like discovering a whole new dimension, one that only exists in the space between you and me. She nodded, her eyes bright with burgeoning realization. It's a connection I've never felt before, a sort of understanding and acceptance of each other at a deep primal level. In that instant we were both acutely aware that our journey had Begun with a shy curiosity and innocent step towards understanding each other and had since snowballed into a breathtaking exploration of forbidden love and passion. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. We've traveled from hesitation and ignorance to a place of bold exploration and mutual consent. I whispered, marveling at the distance we had covered. It's like we've crossed a chasm that others can't even see. Let alone traverse. Lisa, her eyes sparkling with unshed tears, nodded, comprehending the enormity of our steps. We've ventured into a realm where traditional relationships can't follow. It's uncharted territory, both thrilling and unnerving, and yet here we are. I am running my fingers lightly across her cheek, drawing new patterns of sensation on her skin, bound together by our very souls, ready to face whatever lies ahead. The quiet understanding between us grew, each of our unspoken questions finding answers in the depth of our shared gaze, our connected breaths, and the subtle ways our bodies clung to each other. We knew that this night had served as a pivotal moment, solidifying our bond, a sanctification of the journey our hearts had already begun. Later, wrapped in each other's embrace, we talked into the small hours of the night, acknowledging our complex and powerful connection. We spoke of the moral quandaries, the societal challenges, and the possibility of heartbreak that lay ahead, but also of the deep love, understanding, and unparalleled passion that made these risks worth taking. This intimate conversation marked a new phase of our relationship, one where the unspoken was slowly being laid bare. It was a treacherous path we were choosing, but one that promised an unfiltered view into the ultimate connection of body, heart, and soul, unconstrained by convention and fueled by a love that defies definition and explanation. Within the comforting confines of our bedroom, sheltered from the external judgments and fears, we had discovered and taken solace in the fact that sometimes love truly has no boundaries, recognizing that within each other we had found a home.